ॐ अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। हरि ओम। Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramakrishnaaya. Welcome to this Sanskrit hymns explained class. We are now doing as the first hymn the Guru Stotra. It has got 14 stanzas and 13 stanzas have been covered so far. So before going to take up the last or the final stanza as per our tradition, so I'm asking Juma to sing the 13 stanzas first. Please follow the text before you.
Okay, Maharaj. गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। स्थावरं जङ्गमं व्याप्तं येन कृष्णं चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। चिद्रूपेण परिव्याप्तं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सर्वश्रुति शिरोरत्न समुद्भासितमूर्तये वेदान्ताम्बुजसूर्याय तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। चैतन्य शाश्वत शान्तो व्योमातीतो निरञ्जनः बिन्दुनाद कलातीतस्तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ज्ञानशक्ति समारूढ तत्त्वमाला विभूषितः भुक्तिमुक्ति प्रदाता च तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अनेक जन्म सम्प्राप्त कर्मेन्धन विदाहिने आत्मज्ञानाग्निदानेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। शोषणं भवसिन्धोश्च प्रापनं सारसम्पदः यस्य पादोदकं सम्यक् तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। न गुरोरधिकं तत्त्वं न गुरोरधिकं तपः तत्त्वज्ञानात् परं नास्ति तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मन्नाथ श्रीजगन्नाथो मद्गुरु श्रीजगद्गुरु मदात्मा सर्वभूतात्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरुरादिर् अनादिश्च गुरुः परमदैवतं गुरोः परतरं नास्ति तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः.
Thank you, Juma, for nicely chanting. Yes. Now the last verse that we are going to study today. In that, before we start that Malavika can chant that.
ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वं अस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतम् भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि.
Thank you. See, this verse, as I told you, the very first difference that we find in this verse with the other foregoing verses is all the other previous verses were making pranam to Guru as a third person. Salutations to that Guru who is so and so, so and so, so and so, etc. But in this verse, we find the disciple is making pranam to Guru, Sadgurum Tam Namami, he says. So to that Sadguru, I bow down. So actually these are the words in the Skanda Purana, Lord Shiva is conveying to Mother Parvati. So Mother Parvati asked a question about Guru Tattva. So Lord Shiva is explaining. So there are many more verses are there in that, but there are people who have taken 14 verses, who have taken 20 verses, who have taken 5 verses, like the different types of number of verses can be taken. Anyway, that in Dublin we are following these 14 verses. So that's what we are studying this. Now, this Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurti. From this construction of this, the verse, one line, second line, third line, fourth line, you will see the meter differs. As I told you, the earlier verses of two lines they are called Anushtuk Chanda. So the prosody in Sanskrit grammar and the language, it comes, which specifically tells about the meters. If you want to write a poem, the poem must be within a particular kind of meter. So that meters are explained. Generally, there are 16 meters which are most popular in Sanskrit literature, but there are very rare meters also there. So this meter is not a rare meter, but it has been very wisely used, and it is said Kalidasa himself discovered this meter while writing. You know, this meter is called Chandrakanta or Chandrakranta. Two names are there. You see, when he wrote Megha Sandesham, the literature Megha Sandesham that he wrote is the beloved is sending some message to her beloved. So how she will send? See, in those days there was no email. So what she did was she called the meghas, that is these clouds. The clouds are passing by. So this girl sees the clouds and then she gives the message to the clouds. Oh clouds, go and tell. That's called Megha Sandesham. So the Sandeshman means message. So the message is conveyed by the meghas, that is the clouds. So the clouds carry the message and convey to that other person who is somewhere in a distant place. So for that, how the meghas move, when we stand on the earth and look at the clouds, sometimes you find clouds are moving very, very slow. So that's why you put that as the sun is hidden by the clouds, and when the clouds move, as if the moon is moving very slowly. As if when you walk, at a place, you can see the moon is walking along with you, as it were. So slow. So that what is the speed of the moon? It must be very high speed. But then we see that. So he gave the name for this meter Chandrakanta or Chandrakranta. So this speed is very slow. So that's why when you read this verse, it's not like other verses. So Brahmanandam Paramasukadam. So there is a comma is given to indicate this is, there are 10 syllables are there. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam, say Brahma Nandam Paramasukadam. So there are 10 syllables. And the later part is Kevalam Jnana Murti. Kevalam Jnana Murtim 7. So total 17 syllables are there in each line. So 4 lines are Saman. So Samavrita, it is called. Under Samavrita, this also comes. Like the Anushtup also Samavrita, because it's 8 syllables are there. Likewise, 17 syllables it contains in each line. So that is one important thing to understand how beautifully the Sanskrit language has evolved, you see. And there's the meters are said to be like the railway lines. The train can go on any speed. It can go in 40 kilometer speed or 200 kilometer speed, doesn't matter. But the lines must be there. So what type of poems you write, it doesn't matter now. The meters set the poem in a very beautiful way. And that's how the whole, that epic grows like that. So first let us see Brahmanandam. So when he says, to that Guru I bow down, Sadgurum Tam Namami, we saw the Sadguru also last week. What is Sadguru? What is opposite to the Sadguru? Why they call it Sadguru? Now, his nature is being explained. The first thing that is explained is Brahmanandam. Is there any other Anandam? If you see, you'll be surprised. Yes, Sri Ramakrishna says in the gospel, there are 3 types of Anandams are there. One is called Vishayanandam. Second is Bhajananandam. Third is Brahmanandam. So these are the 3 types of Anandams are there. Very easy to understand from the word itself. What is Vishayanandam? Vishaya means sense objects. They are called Vishayas. So if you bring a nice Rasgulla, even though I am diabetic, I would definitely eat it. Why? Because there is a feeling of pleasure in eating. So it is called Vishayanandam. Likewise, we have got 5 senses. So we can, through the 5 senses, we can enjoy. We can have the bliss or the Anandam. The enjoyment can be there. Of course, enjoyment has got a different degrees of enjoyments are there. I'll come to it later. But this Brahmanandam is the last. So Vishayanandam starts beginning of the Ananda, the pleasure that we enjoy. So through the 5 senses, any type of 5 sense organs, we enjoy the 5 sense objects that are suitable to each sense organ. Like for instance, hearing music through the ears, like hearing or seeing nice sceneries through the eyes. So each sense organ has got a particular type of sense object. So that we can understand it. So Vishyanandam comes where, for instance, you may hear a classical music or you can hear a filmy music. So the filmy music comes under Vishayanandam. Our ancient sages, they never said this is not to be done, etc. They only classified and said, according to your temperament, you choose what you want. So they gave the freedom to us. They never said, don't do this. This is bad, so you should not do it. Never said. This is also an Ananda, a type of pleasure, but it is called Vishayanandam. And then next comes Bhajananandam. In this Bhajananandam, Sri Ramakrishna says, a man gets, as he gets Sattva Guna, his interest in Bhajananandam increases. So many people complain, during our retreats, we discuss these points. So generally the question comes, Maharaj, I have been initiated into spiritual life and so many years have gone, but I don't get any taste in thinking of God, in telling the God's name, in singing God's glory. I don't get the taste because Bhajananandam has not come to you. Why it is not coming? Sri Ramakrishna says, because the Sattva Guna has not become predominant. So if a man knows what is his guna, if I am having, say, Rajas Guna or Tamas Guna, then I must try to improve it. As I improve to Sattva Guna, then naturally the Bhajananandam taste will come to me. And next he says, Brahmanandam. This is the final bliss. This final bliss is compared, in a beautiful way. I'll tell you one, how this is compared in Vedas. There is a Anandavalli. Anandavalli is one of the section of Taittiriya Upanishad. In that Anandavalli, there is a beautiful description of Anandam. So even the pleasure is a type of Anandam that gives bliss. But then bliss has got a different, as I said, degrees of existence. So he says, the Anandavalli Rishi, the Rishi says that in Anandavalli, the Rishi is singing. What he is singing is, what is human bliss? That is what he is discussing. Manusha Anandam, Anandaha. It says, Manusha Ananda. So, Sa Eko Manusha Ananda. One human bliss. Let me now explain to you. So, what is that explanation he says? He says, Yuva Syat Sadhu Yuvadhyayakaha Asishto Dradishto Balishtaha Tasyayam Prithvi Sarva Vittasya Purna Syat. So he says very beautifully, suppose take a youth, a good youth, not a bad youth, a good youth, learned in the sacred lore. He has been studying all the Sanskrit scriptures. He is now learned and promptest in action and steadfast in heart, strongest in body. So these are the 5 kinds of qualities he gives. Suppose he has got all of this on this earth, consider that as one human bliss. Eko Manusha Anandaha. One human bliss. Then how he is raising that, you'll find it so interesting. This is, imagine that one human bliss into 100 times. X 100. Now what happens? And that is the human Gandharva. In Gandharva, there are human Gandharva and Deva Gandharva. There are 2 kinds are there. So one human Gandharva is equivalent to 100 times bliss of the one human being. And then he says, if you take the person, the Deva Gandharva, his is that human Gandharva's bliss, whatever maybe it is, say X, and 100 times you multiply that, and that is called Deva Gandharva, Deva Gandharva's bliss. Now he says, this Deva Gandharva, you multiply that 100 times, the celestial fairies, as they are called, this Deva Gandharva, then that is equivalent to one Pitrus Ananda. That's why sometimes we hear about the near-death experience, etc. It's a very interesting subject, that is near-death experience. Somebody goes into death and then he comes back from the death. And he explains. So a lot of studies are being conducted in parapsychology nowadays. So that the experiences say that it is once I got out of the body, I felt extreme blissful state. The person says. And sometimes through the medium, we try to contact the departed soul. So recently one lady from South Africa told me that she contacted a medium and wanted to ask her, where is my brother? What is he doing? And the medium said, the brother is telling he is in extremely blissful state because he has become Pitru, you see. He has gone to Pitruloka and is extremely blissful. And that bliss is 100 times of Devagandharva. Devagandharva's bliss is 100 times to Manushya Gandharva. And Manushya Gandharvas is 100 times more than a sample human bliss. Now you see, that is such a great bliss is there. And then, is there any other higher bliss than this Pitru bliss? Yes. What is 100 times to the bliss of the Devas, the to bliss of this, is the Ajana. Devas born in the Ajana. Ajana is a place, is a loka. So in that loka, some Devatas are born, and their bliss is so 100 times higher. Like that is go on increasing, one after another. Is Karma Devatas, and then bliss of Devatas, then Indra, then he finally comes to Indra. Indra's bliss is again 100 times to the bliss of Devatas, other Devatas, because Indra is the head. And he says 100 times to the bliss of Indra is one bliss of Brihaspati. Brihaspati, we all know, that is Brihaspati Guru. His bliss is 100 times to the bliss of Indra. Then is there anything higher than that? Yes. He doesn't come to a conclusion now. He says there is a Prajapati. Prajapati's bliss is 100 times to Brihaspati's bliss. See where he has taken. Now you go on increasing 100 to 100 to 100. I have not calculated it, how many years it comes, but let us see that.
I have been calculating. I will.
Oh, you have been calculating. Mathematician, yes. You must calculate, yes. And then he says the Prajapatis. What is Prajapati's bliss? That is one bliss of Brahma. You all know that Brahma is the creator God, as we say. So Brahma's bliss is this. And he says, this is this one who is in the man, and that one who is in the sun, he is one. He says, Sa eschayam purushe eschasam aditye sa ekaha. He says, who is within that sun, who is within the man, that is the Atman, that is both are same. Sa evam vitu. He says, he who thus knows Asman Lokan Pretya, after departing from this world, then what happens to him? Then he has left Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. And that he attains that place from where the words cannot come back. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidwan. That's what he says. That anandam is brahmanandam. This brahmanandam is the highest bliss. So if you think of your guru as having a blissful state of existence, you should not consider any type of lower type of blissful existence. It is neither Vishayanandam nor Bhajananandam. It is Brahmanandam alone. That's the highest status we give that. So that's why he says Brahmanandam. And then he says Paramasukhadam. Many people say, what is Sukha and Ananda? What is the difference between that? So generally we translate in English Sukha as pleasure, in contrast to Dukkha. Dukkha means painful. So pleasure and pain are contrasted. So Sukha and Dukkha. Let us consider the word Su and Dus. These are the two prefixes attached to one word called Kha. In Sukha also Kha is there. Dukkha also Kha is there. You see, when you write it in Bengali or Hindi, you can see that Sukha and Dukkha. Both Kha is there, common. What is the prefix that differs? One is Su, another is Dus. Dus is called Dukkha. So it is written Du Visarga. So the word is Dus. So Dus and Su are different. They are contrasting. So there is a beautiful study, somebody has done it. I was seeing that how that person has studied this Sukha and Dukkha. He says, Kha in Sanskrit means Akasha, the space. So even Sri Ramakrishna says, that in gospel also the Kha word comes. So he says, I am Kha, like that he used to say. So the Kha means I am space. That means I am infinite. I am without any limitations. To indicate the vastness, to indicate the all-pervasive nature, to indicate the blueness, the completely blue sky. That means without any type of uh, impurity, completely pure. So all these meanings are coming within the word Kha. That's why the science that is studied regarding our earth, it is called Bhugol Shastra. Bhugola. Our ancient sages have found out this earth is round. It is not flat. But even though till today, there are groups all over the world, they are telling that earth is flat. That that if you search in YouTube, you will get it like that, many people. They don't accept earth is goal. So Bhugol is the word that we have given to this Bhugol Shastra. So what is the Shastra? About the sky, it is called Khagola Shastra. So that Kha word is used, is there, you see. Khagol, Bhugol and Khagol. So the Khagol word is used for talking about this Shastra. So this is a very beautiful way that they are analyzed, this Khagol. Even a bird is called also Khaga. Khaga means a bird, or say a bird that always moving around in the sky. So this Kha word is used. So then what is this Kha? As I told you, expand or march forward or be in the space, occupy it. Like that, all those meanings are come. So there is a insect it's called glowworm. Glowworm, shines in the night. So in the night, you would have seen in the village side when you go, hundreds and thousands of glowworms come. And the village people in Arunachal, I have seen, the tribal population, the children, they catch that and put it here and they walk. So it is glowing here. So I also put it once on my forehead, and just for the fun of that, I took it from a child. So it's nice. You put it there and it stays there. And then you can walk with that. So this is also one important thing. This is called, in Bengali, there is a beautiful word for this. The word is
Jonaki.
Huh?
Jonaki.
No, with Kha.
Okay. Oh, for glowworm.
Yes. It is, it starts with Kha. I forget now. Okay. So that is also called the Kha, you see. So because it is shining and it's spreading everywhere. So that is called Kha. So this Sukha and Dukkha, now when you take it in this position, anything that does not give you that expansion, that growth, that constricts you is painful. So it is called Dukkha. Anything that promotes an expansion of your heart, anything that gives you happiness is called Sukha. So in this Sukha, there are many gradations of Sukhas are there. So what are those gradations? I'm not going into that, so many gradations, but you will find that there are many types of gradations of Sukha is there, where your heart is expanding. For instance, simple. Yesterday I was listening to one Carnatic music, one particular raga I was interested to listen to. So I put it. So I wanted to listen to Kambodhi. Kambodhi is a raga. It's said to be Lord Shiva takes great delight in listening to this raga. So I put the Carnatic music radio and then I listened. And one after another, they are giving several songs sung by or several instruments played by. And that completely took me to a different level of a feeling. So the music can do wonderful now. wonderful to the mind. The music can expand your intellect. It can expand your feeling, that emotion. So it made me as if, though I am lying down on my bed, as if I am not there. I am in a different world. That type of feeling I had. Why it came? It was very sukha anandam. It was a very pleasureful. So there are several gradations are there. In that, if you consider any type of sukha, not dukkha, any type of sukha, and if you go to the supreme sukha, parama sukha, that parama sukha is that guru who hands over to you, who gives to you. So the word meaning parama sukha dam. Dam is actually the parama sukha da. Da means who is giver, who gives you, dadati. For dadati, you give only da, you add. Parama sukha da. Parama sukha daha. So that is called parama sukha dam. So parama sukha da, the highest type of pleasure, he hands it over to you. So Guru is called Parama Sukhada. Then Kevalam Jnana Murti. Kevalam also is a very beautiful word. It is called isolated or alone or only. All the so many types of connotations come to this Kevalam. So Namaive Kevalam, Namaive Kevalam. You know, our Chaitanya Dev used to say, the name alone is enough. Name alone is enough. So Nama is alone is enough. He used to say. So the Kevalam word is single. That means there is no second. So here the Guru status is single. There is no second to him. Kevalam. He is alone. Then Jnana Murti. He is personified of knowledge. So he is knowledge personified. So Jnana Murti, because he is the person who is imparting me knowledge. So naturally, the Guru cannot have Ajnana. The opposite to Jnana is Ajnana. So that Ajnana is not there. The darkness of Ajnana he has removed. So he is personified as knowledge. So it's called Jnana Murtim. Then let us go to second line. Dvandva Titam. This is a combination of two words. Together you pronounce as Dvandva Titam. Dvandva plus Atitam. Atit is the word that means transcendent, or in simplified way, it is said beyond. Atit means beyond. So Dvandva Titam. What is the beyond of Dvandva? What is the meaning of Dvandva? Dvandva means dualities, as they say. In English, it is translated as dualities. What are dualities? Dualities are many. For instance, if you live in Ireland, you know dualities of weather. Sometimes it is hot, sometimes it is cold. So cold and hot, both are there. In one day you get, today also we had a nice sun at the noon time, and then it's gone now. It's all cloudy now. So the weather. So weather is one of the type of dualities. Like that, you can imagine many dualities. Sitoshna, Sita Ushna, that cold and heat. Like that, if there are many types of dualities you can imagine. So these are all dualities. He is beyond these dualities. That means no dualities can give him any type of dukkha. Because you have already told him that he is Parama Sukhadam. So naturally, he cannot have any type of dukkha. That's why he is said to be beyond dualities. Then Gagana Sadrisham is also a beautiful word. Gagana means sky. Again, the blue sky that we see, that is called Gagana. That is without a trace of cloud. That is called Gagan. Sadrisham means equivalent to or looking alike. That is called Sadrisham. So he looks like Gagan. Gagan means the sky. Why the blue sky is referred here? Because to indicate the infinity. So the sky is always brought, the blue sky is brought as an example to indicate the infinity. So is Gagana Sadrisham, Tattvamasyadi Lakshyam. Now this is another beautiful phrase. Tattva, here you see how many words are there first. Tattvam, Asya, Adi, Lakshyam. There are 4 words are there in the second line, second part. Tattvam, Asyadi, Lakshyam. When you are chanting, when you are singing, you should not say Tattvam, Asyadi, Lakshyam. You should always combine this. The hyphen is given only to make us understand there is a separate word. But while chanting, we should continuously say Tattva Masyadi Lakshyam. So there at that time it becomes Tattva Masyadi. Otherwise the meter will break, So we must be careful that. So Tattvam Asya Adi Lakshyam. So what is that? Tattvam Asya Adi. There is Asya Adi also is a combination of 2 words. Asya, so Asi, Adi. These are the 2 words, Asi and Adi. When you combine these 2, it becomes Asyadi. It is not Tattvam Asya, it is Tattvam Asi, Adi. Tattvam Asi, Adi. So Tattvam Asi is one of the cardinal phrases in Vedanta. They are called Mahavakyas. So there are 4 Mahavakyas are there in Vedanta. Anybody can tell me what are those 4? Those who have studied Vedanta, they know. There are 4 Mahavakyas. Maha means grand and Vakya means sentence, phrase.
Yeah, I
So there
can
are
tell.
4 Mahavakyas.
I can tell.
Yes, tell me.
Tatyamasi, Pragyanam Brahma, Ayamatma Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. So, Pragyanam Brahma, Ayam Atma Brahma, Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi. In that order it should be said. Why? Because the Guru is telling the disciple is asking, hey Guru, tell me what is Brahman? Then Guru says, Pragyanam Brahma. Pragyanam is what? Insight, the wisdom. The wisdom is Brahman. The insight is Brahman. He says, Pragyanam. The Jnanam means knowledge. Pragyana means the knowledge you understand tattvataha. According to the tattva, when you understand an item of knowledge, that is called pragya. So pragya is a very beautiful word. The great sages, they have pragya. The wisdom is there. So all these words you can use, insight, wisdom, etc. So this pragyanam Brahma, it says. Then the disciple is looking at the Guru. You said pragyanam Brahma, but what is pragyanam? That itself I don't know. So you are telling pragyanam Brahma. Like that he puts a question in his eyes. He looks at Guru like that. Guru understands the disciple's difficulty. Then he says, I am Atma Brahma. He says, second sentence. I am Atma Brahma. See, this Atman is Brahman. So Atman and Brahman, there is a correlation. Atman is equivalent to Brahman. Brahman has become the Atman. This Atman and Brahman are not different. They are not different. So he says, I am Atma. This Atman is Brahman. Then still the disciple is looking at the Guru. He says, which is Atma? Atma in you, Atma in him, or Atma in me? He is confused. Then Guru says, Tat Tvam Asi. Thou art that. I told you, this self is Brahman. I am Atma Brahma. This self is Brahman. That self is, you are that self. Thou art that. Tat Tvam Asi. And the moment disciple hears this from the mouth of the Guru, that, hey, I am that Atma, immediately he reaches the knowledge state and he shouts, Aham Brahmasmi. I am the Brahman. So he realizes. So the Vedantic sadhana, the Guru gives the Upadesha and disciple catches it instantly. That's how the Vedantic sadhana, it's a great method of understanding, realizing oneself. So these 4 Vakyas, Mahavakyas I told you, they are not as the method I told you that it is written in the Vedas. No, it actually, each Vakya comes in different Vedas. So where it comes, the Prajnanam Brahma comes from Rig Veda in Aitareya Upanishad. So you can write it down. The first one I told you comes taken from Rig Veda. So Rig Veda has got certain number of Upanishads as the end portion of the Rig Veda. So in that, one of the Upanishad is called Aitareya Upanishad. Aitareya Upanishad 3.3. Now second, I am Atma Brahma. In which Veda it comes? It comes in Atharva Veda. Atharva Veda also has got the closing portion of Atharva Veda. There are some Upanishads dedicated there. So in one of the Upanishad it comes. The Upanishad name is Mandukya Upanishad. Mandukya Upanishad. Yes.
Swamiji, sorry, what is the Sanskrit of the second Mahavakya?
What is?
Sanskrit word phrase for second Mahavakya?
I am Atma Brahma. First is Prajnanam Brahma. So the Guru says Prajna is the Brahman. And then he is telling to the disciple, I am Atma Brahma. This Atman is Brahman. This self is Brahman. Then the disciple is wondering, whose self? Then Guru says, Tat Tvam Asi. Thou art that. That self is you are. Then the disciple realizes it. Then he comes out in great joy, Aham Brahmasmi. So the second mantra is, I am Atma Brahma, comes in Mandukya Upanishad 1.2, belongs to Atharva Veda. So the third mantra, the Mahavakya, is called Tat Tvam Asi. This we might have heard in many places. In most of the Vedantic talks, this mantra, this Mahavakya has to be brought. So without this Mahavakya, no Vedantic talks can be done. So you'll find this Tattvamasi comes in many places. It comes in Chandogya Upanishad. Chandogya Upanishad. And this Upanishad belongs to Samaveda. What is the number of Chandogya Upanishad? 6.8.7. 6.8.7. Tattvamasi Shvetaketu. That comes. Shvetaketu is the disciple's name or the son's name. So the father is advising him. Tat Shvetaketu, thou art that. You are that, he says. So we've seen the Rig Veda we have seen, Atharva Veda we have seen, and Samaveda we have seen. Now what is left is Yajur Veda. So Yajur Veda, Mahavakya is Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. That is a very great. It comes in a great Upanishad. The Upanishad name itself is great. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. In English, so many letters are there, alphabets are there. Brihadaranyaka. If you write B-R-I-H-A like that, goes on like a train, it goes. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. This is 1.4.10. So these are the 4 Mahavakyas culled from 4 Vedas and 4 Upanishads. So a person who is studying Vedanta would like to study these 4 Upanishads first, so that he can get the Mahavakya straight away in the beginning itself. And then other Upanishads one can read. So these 4 Upanishads are so great, So he says, why I brought these 4 Mahavakyas is because Tattvamasi, Adi Lakshyam. Lakshyam is that which indicates, indicated by. Guru indicates to you Tattvamasi. Adi, that Adi word means etc. So naturally, etc., all the other three Mahavakyas could not be included, you see, in this verse. So he has put Adi. Adi means etc. You have to understand. So not Tattvamasi only one, the other three Mahavakyas are also included. And all the four Mahavakyas are being indicated by the Guru. So he is the Lakshyam. He is indicator. So Tattvamasyadi Lakshyam. Then the third line, let us go to that. Here, Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam. In this line, the key word is Sakshi. That is the key word in this line. So Sakshi means witness. So we say witness. What is the meaning of witness? Witness is to be or to be present when something is happening. If you are present and sleeping, you cannot be called witness. So you must be present, not only, you must be awakened also. So a witness is one who is not only present, but who observes. Suppose you have eyes to observe and you are not sleeping. You are there, of course, but you have closed your eyes. You cannot be called witness because you have closed your eyes, you are not seen. So the seeing must be there. Suppose my eyes are open, I am seeing, but then vision is not there. My vision is, plus too many numbers, plus 32, plus 34. I cannot see also. So all these things should be there. For witness means, and he should be perfectly a witness to be, means he must have everything. Fully healthy person only can be a witness. That's why in court, in many cases, if a person is found to be drugged or found to be taken a lot of alcohol, that person may be there. He may be, his eyes are okay and he has seen it, but still that will not be considered legally valid because his mind is not there. If you are drunk, whatever, your mind will not be there. So that person is removed. So without any type of impurity in your personality, you must be perfectly healthy to be witness. And who can that be the witness other than the Atman? So the Atman within which is me, within me is the witness. So Vedanta says the Atman is the only witness. Even, you see, I am sleeping. During my sleeping stage, I am having a very good sleep. Sometimes I used to say, in those days, I used to sleep like a Kumbhakarna. Even 3-4 years back, I was sleeping like a Kumbhakarna. Nowadays, of course, I don't sleep like Kumbhakarna. But I used to sleep like that. That means what? Utter sleep. Complete tamas comes over you. You are completely out of this world. But then, when I get up, I tell the Swamiji, he's asking me, how was your yesterday's sleep? I said, I slept like a log of wood. Arey, where were you? You are sleeping. You are not knowing anything. Even mosquito comes on you, you do not know. The window is open, you do not know. So all the nothing in you, but still you say, I slept well. How did you understand this? I slept well when you are completely in the lap of the sleep. So there must be somebody who is witnessing all the changes in you. And that, who is that change? A witness. That witness is Atman. Because Atman's Jyoti is falling on the I, the Ahamkara stands and then it witnesses everything. It is only reflected knowledge of Ahamkara. But actual witness is that Atman. Atma is the witness. Now, he says, that's why it's written, Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam. He is personified. The Atman is personified as witness Witness to what? Sarvadhi. All types of intellectual contractions, all types of intellectual ideas, all types of intellectual exercises, all types of intellectual activities. Sarvadhi. Not only for within me, among all the beings in this world, the entire universe, within each one. The witness within ant, the witness within me, witness within you. All this one witness is there. And that one witness is Sarvadhi Sakshi. It is Sakshi to all the beings. That means you cannot, that's why in the theistic way, that is in the bhakti way, devotional way, we say, you see, Bhagavan is there. He is looking after everything. Even in the darkest room you go, you are seeing. Who is seeing? Witness. Bhagavan is there, we say, in a devotional way. But in Vedantic way, we say that Sakshi within Asmi, within me, that is, that I am. That Sakshi is witness to every activity. So this witness has got 4 types of adjectives. That is that Ekam. This witness cannot be 2, cannot be multiple. This witness has to be one only. That's why Shiva says, Lord Shiva says, Ekam. It is alone, only one. And then Nityam. Nityam is permanent, not temporary. This Sakshi is there for some time and for some time it is not. No, it is not the case. This Sakshi is always remaining. It cannot never go anywhere. So this Sakshi, that's why he says Nityam, ever. Vimalam. If any even iota of impurity is attached, the Sakshi cannot function. As I told you, these eyes and then mind to be there and the person has to be healthy, all those type of, any type of iota of even any type of malignancy, any type of, impurity cannot be there. That's why it's called Vimalam. Vimalam means Mala, Vigata Mala. Vigata Mala means the Malam that is gone. Vigata means gone. So V stands for not Visesha. Many places, many words we find stands for Visesha. That also we have seen, like Vinasha. V Visesha, Nasha. That is Vishesha. Is there? Vishesha means specialized. But here, V does not stand for Visesha. It stands for Vigata. Vigata means gone. Gone forever. There is no Malam. There is no Mala. Mala means impurity. There is no Malam. Then what is there? It is also Achalam. Chal means go, move. Achala means not moving. Moving can take place in the space. And the moving can take place only when more than one object is there in the space. Then it can move. Because I can move to another place. You can come to another place. So we all can move. But what is existing is alone, Ekam. That alone only remains. And that is pervaded the whole universe. Where it will move. Is there any space that it can move anywhere? So that is called, in Gita also it comes to Sthanuhu. Sthanuhu achaloyam sanatanaha. Yesterday we were reading in that, not yesterday, for yesterday I think. We were reading that. Nitya sarvagata sthanu achaloyam. What is the difference between sthanu and achal? That was the question. This is the answer here. That if it is only one object is remaining, where it can move. There is no space other than that object. So he is called Sthanu. Sthanu achalam, unmoving. Now we come to the final line. Bhavatitam. Already we have seen that Dvandvatitam. Dvandva plus atitam is called Dvandvatitam. beyond the dualities. Likewise, bhavatitam, bhava atitam. It is transcending the bhavas, transcending the thought force. Bhava comes from the bhavana. You know, bhavana means thinking, the ideas. So there is always ideas coming up in our mind. We are always thinking. So these ideas can emote or can bring up emotions in us. The emotions are called bhava. From bhavana, this bhava comes. So this it is beyond bhava. There is no emotion to take place when you realize who you are. You are absolutely stabdo bhavati. Narada Bhakti Sutras, Rishi Narada says, what happens to a man who realizes his self? He becomes stabdo bhavati. There is no word coming out from his mouth. He is absolutely quiet. That's why in Upanishad one story comes, two boys were sent out to learn about Vedanta, about self, and they come back and they're from the Guru. So the father is asking the elder fellow, hey, what did you learn at Guru's place? Then he starts chattering out so many shlokas, so many Upanishads, so many references. And father is silently listening to that. And then he said, oh, you have not understood anything. And the boy said, what? I have learned so many things. I have not understood anything. No. Let me ask the second son. My dear boy, you tell me about what is Brahman, what is Atman. The boy stood silent. You see, in one line, the Upanishad stories goes. So beautiful to read these stories, and silent. Because stabdo bhavati, you cannot speak. The same thing happens to the devotees also. When they see their Ishta Devata in front, they cannot utter a word. Because yatra vacho nivartante, na nivartante. Vacha, the words go there and cannot come back. That's why in Arati Stav also we sing that, this vacha, mano vacha, they both cannot go there. Some people say that it cannot reach there also. And if it reaches, it cannot come back. So that stage is called bhavatitam. If it is bhavatitam, then is he bound to these three gunas? Tamas, Rajas, Sattva. These three gunas are there. Is he bound to that? No. These three gunas are not there. Some of the features when we hear, like, Dvandva Atitam, Gagana Sadrisham, etc., they seem to be predominance of Sattva. Or only Sattva is there, then that may indicate it. But he says, no, don't consider that he is under the control of any guna. He is Triguna Rahitam. Rahitam means devoid of, not having. That is the meaning. So Triguna, all the three gunas are not there. That's so. That Sadguru, to that Sadguru, hey Sadguru, tam namami. I bow down to that Sadguru. So with this Hari Om Ramakrishna, so it's such a beautiful verses. It is worthy to sometimes think of. Sometimes, I am washing my clothes. I'm bringing my clothes and putting in the, washing machine. At that time, I'm chanting within myself. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatitam Gayana Sadrisham. Like that, you go on chanting. So if you learn this by heart, you can chant at any time where mind is not fully occupied. You don't need to put your 100% mind to open a washing machine. You see? So like that, there are so many things are there. You are ironing the clothes. You don't put your 100% mind. You can just start thinking about these things also. But they say in every action, you must do it with 100% of the mind. That also is said. There is a Buddhistic meditations are done like that. That's a different thing. That's a different terminology for different perspective. But for those devotees who are devotional minded, they should always chant some type of stotras, some type of hymns. And that is why the hymns are very powerful. Once we master these hymns by remembering this, then anytime you can start chanting. Sitting in the car while driving also you can chant. So these hymns are very useful. So with this we conclude this particular Guru Stotram. And next recommendation has come for discussion, for study, is Sri Ramakrishna Aratrikam. Every center we do Aratri, Khandana Bhavabandhana. It's a great stotram. We shall discuss this from next week. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Durga to everyone.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Any questions? Should I take any
Thank you,
questions?
Swamiji.
5 minutes or so?
Yes, Swamiji. I would
Okay.
like to know Sarvam Khalidam Brahma. Is that also a Mahavakya?
No. It is the Ishavasya Upanishad it comes.
Yeah.
It is not Mahavakya. Mahavakya are only 4. But
Why
there
is
are,
it called Mahavakya?
yes, only 4 Mahavakya, 4 Mahavakya.
Why these are called Mahavakya?
That's the grand statement. These are the statements, as I explained to you, between the Guru and Sishya. This is a direct statement.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Swamiji,
Yes?
can I ask a small question? Swamiji, the second Mahavakya is I am Atma Brahman. So is it not English, Swamiji? Is it I am Atma Brahman or something?
No. You are taking it as I am, is it not?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
no.
what
no.
is
In
what is the Sanskrit?
Sanskrit, I am. A, ya, ma, half.
Okay. Thank you, Swamiji. Thank
Not
you.
I am.
I am. Okay.
That I am is Aham Brahmasmi is I am. I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. So in Sanskrit, I am means this.
Thank you, Swamiji.
I am Atma, correct. Sorry, thank you for raising this question, because next time when I explain this, I will add this, as an explanation.
Sorry.
Maharaj, a thought has just come to my mind as you were mentioning about Buddha.
Yes.
So would you like to talk about the retreat that we have, and would you like to share the link?
I think if the question answer time, we can take up. Because as such, I have got only half an hour time in the retreat for me.
না না মহারাজজি ও বলছে যে এইটা এখানকার গ্রুপে জানানোর জন্য।
হ্যাঁ।
Oh, yes. Those who are attending today's class, I'm happy to inform you that we are going to have the coming Saturday and Sunday, a retreat on the occasion of Buddha's birthday. Buddha's birthday comes on 26th. So we are thinking of having a retreat. And this retreat, usually we used to have a residential retreat. But today, because of this COVID situation, residential retreat is not possible. So we are having online retreat. It is 2 days program. I will send all of you the programs and you can join online. No problem at all. From morning, it starts at 9:30. Is it not? Yes.
10 o'clock.
At 10 o'clock to 12:30 or 1 o'clock. And then again 4:30 to 7:30. So it's a nice program. There'll be question answer session will be there. If anybody raises those questions, we'll definitely take up that.
Guest speakers are also there.
Yes, the guest speakers are there. Buddhist speakers have come.
Yes.
So it will be nice to listen to them, how or what they consider, etc. Yes.
Meditation also, there will be
Yes.
half an hour.
Guided meditation is there.
Meditation.
I'll send you the full program.
How will you send? You will send it individually. Is it possible?
No. I have got a group. All these people are in that group.
Oh, so you can post the flyer over there. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. All right.
But some of the names I see here, they are not in my group. I don't know, they are getting through somebody else, I think.
Okay. So.
Yes. Some names are not in the group.
Okay.
But somehow they are coming, that means they are understanding it.
So they will have someone common.
Yes, count, yes.
One of them, Maharajji, is our teacher in school, Tapasri.
Yes, you told me that, Tapasri, yes. I'm seeing the name, yes.
Yes. So Malavika, you can forward it to her.
Done.
Okay.
Done.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, so Maharaj, you will post the flyers, and then whoever, as per your convenience, you all are most welcome to join the retreat as per your convenience. Yeah.
Can I please make one more comment in relation to today's teaching, Swamiji?
Mm.
As often you mentioned from Gambhiranandaji's book, the Kebalang meaning was written here as Nirlipto.
Nirlipto, correct. That is also one meaning, yes.
So I just
Yes,
thought
it's
of
alone and that means non-attached or detached. That meaning also comes, yes.
Nirlipto means non
Non-attached,
oh,
detached
detached. Okay.
or detached. It's not actually detached.
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 Right. Play with words. Yeah.
Any other point? Okay, then
খুব ভালো লাগলো।
let me leave. Thank you. Jai Ram Krishna. Durga to everyone.
প্রণাম মহারাজ, আমি ছবিদি বলছি।
হ্যাঁ ছবিদি, হ্যাঁ নমস্কার, ভালো থাকো।
হ্যাঁ।
ঠিক আছে. Namaste to everybody. I'm ending the session now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining.